Metal Gear. It can't be.
Oh yes it can. This is BigDamnLove, and yes, love can bloom on the battlefield. Tactical espionage action. Or, stealth. It's such a common mechanic in games nowadays across a range of genres, but back in the 90s that wasn't the case until a game exploded onto the scene that popularised the mechanic in a way that no one had before. And that game was Metal Gear Solid. Yeah! Metal Gear Solid didn't invent the stealth action genre, but you could credit that to Hideo Kojima, the man behind the series. Metal Gear Solid was part of an already established franchise when it was released, a sequel to the MSX games Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2, Solid Snake, the latter of which didn't receive a release outside of Japan until 2005. In many ways, Metal Gear Solid is a remake of Metal Gear 2, using many concepts and ideas from the earlier game, but reimagined with new technology.
A surveillance camera?
Born out of a love for Hollywood action movies, married with a desire to take a strong anti-nuclear stance, Metal Gear Solid tells the story of Solid Snake, the legendary soldier forced out of retirement to infiltrate the nuclear disposal facility on Shadow Moses Island, taken over by his old unit, Foxhound, who have gone rogue with an army of next-generation special forces.
There are currently only 6 members of Foxhound. Psycho Mantis, Sniper Wolf, Vulcan Raven, Decoy Octopus, Revolver Ocelot, and finally Liquid Snake.
Snake must make his way to the facility and disarm the nuclear launch that Foxhound are threatening, neutralising the members of his old unit, and eventually uncovering the mystery of and defeating their secret weapon, the nuclear-equipped walking battle tank, Metal Gear Rex. That plot summary makes Metal Gear Solid sound kinda straightforward, and well, it isn't. In fact, that's one of the best things about the game. Narrative in games would not be what it is today without Metal Gear Solid.
This is no time to try and hit on me, Snake.
Back in '98, fully voiced video games were a rarity, particularly on consoles and particularly in the action genre. And Metal Gear Solid went above and beyond what anyone could have expected.
Not only that, but several pounds of muff are reported every year.
We have hours of voice acting from a cast of professionals bringing to life some of the most iconic characters of the medium.
Hey, men aren't allowed in here.
I can see into your mind.
There definitely is a resemblance.
Now, make me feel it. Revolver Ocelot.
Colonel Campbell, Merrill, Mei Ling, the Cyborg Ninja, Revolver Ocelot, Liquid, and of course Solid Snake himself.
Could you be Snake? Are you Solid Snake?
That's what some people call me.
The legendary Solid Snake? You?
Full cast voice video games at the time were so unusual that with the exception of Snake's voice actor David Hayter, the entire cast worked under pseudonyms for fear of union reprisals. And Hayter's joined by a cast of voiceover legends. We've got Jennifer Hale, Debbie Mae West, Cam Clarke, Paul Iding, Greg Eagles, more besides. It's an amazing cast. All the performances serve to imbue the characters with a depth seldom seen before in video games, and often not seen since. David Hayter's performance made him a star of the video game world, and he remained in the role until Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes, when he was unceremoniously booted in favour of Kiefer Sutherland.
See you in hell.
But for me, David Hayter will always be Snake. He captures the cliché of the character wonderfully.
You know of the World Eskimo Indian Olympics?
Yeah, I know it. Must be a real threat in the muck duck eating contest.
The masculine, borderline misogynist swagger.
Is that a woman?
Taken from James Bond and put through the gruff but clean-cut filter of the 80s action hero.
That takes care of the cremation.
Ordered by Kojima to have a Van Damme-esque body but with the face of a character actor like Christopher Walken, Snake is at once a deconstruction and distillation of the 80s action hero, and remains to this day one of the most beloved protagonists in video games.
You are different.
What are you trying to say?
Of course, what really elevates the game to legendary status, and cements its place as one of my favourite games of all time, is the fact that it's fun. And not just fun to play, although the stealth action is immensely satisfying, but it's just fun. The narrative mixes real-world grounded military action with ridiculous sci-fi concepts like cybernetics, robotics, genetics, advanced cloning, big giant mecha like the titular Metal Gear, psychic powers.
Good girl. Just like that.
Now, the characters are all larger than life, even audacious at times, and it gives the whole thing the not quite so serious feel of a late 80s, early 90s action movie. Something like The Rock or Escape from New York, Die Hard or Lethal Weapon, that kind of thing.
You were the one in the M1 tank? Must have been a tight fit for a big boy like you.
I mean, the boss characters are all ridiculous misfits. And yet, Kojima's script imbues them with a level of pathos and tragedy that's revealed in their backstories, either through pre-mortem cutscenes or codec conversations. Now, added to that, the lengthy cutscenes which punctuate the action scenes, you may feel like you're watching the game more than playing it. But it's a combination of the great performances and the knife-edge balance of melodrama and grounded action that keep you engaged.
Okay, hero. Set me free.
Goodbye.
This game does not rush unfolding its story in between action set pieces. It weaves a narrative of inheritance and betrayal around themes of genetics and family, and allows Kojima to bring together all his wide-ranging and esoteric influences and craft something truly unique. Then he and his team take that and wrap it around rock-solid core gameplay with innovative mechanics. This is a game that was not afraid to take risks, and that paid dividends in the game's success and the continuation of the franchise. I don't think it's possible to overstate the impact and influence Metal Gear Solid had on video games.
Okay.
The level of detail in its design was unprecedented at the time, and it still puts many modern games to shame, as does the depth of its narrative and characters. The environments in the game were actually built by Kojima and his team with Lego, and being based on real builds gives them a sense of groundedness and reality even when all the silly stuff's going on. Now, the game does push up against the limits of its platform. Kojima would have to strip out ideas and features that he wanted and implement them in later games. However, at the time, the freedom you had in approaching each stealth situation was unprecedented, and I'd argue that the concept of emergent gameplay, which is very common in a lot of open world games, things like your Bethesdas, your GTAs, that kind of thing, where gameplay situations arise out of approaching the mechanics in a unique and original way to you, has some roots here in the way that you have the freedom to tackle the stealth situations and the boss fights to a degree in so many different ways. You can have a completely different experience playing the game to someone else. It may seem simple by today's standards, but this game was truly groundbreaking. This whole game is riddled with memorable and iconic moments. Each boss battle is a unique situation, it's full of character, and as I keep saying, it's fun. There's so much satisfaction in working out ways to approach each situation and replaying it again and finding a different approach.
I love the reload during a battle.
There's nothing like the feeling of slamming a long silver bullet into a well-greased chamber.
And of course, if you're always stuck, you can call up your support team on the codec and chat to them and get some hints. And that's worth it for no other reason than to listen to the great voice cast.
You caught a cold, Snake? In battle, you need to be in top physical condition. Do you have any cold medicine?
From the opening elevator ride to the final fight, there is never a dull moment. If you can play this game, you should. It's a seminal piece of work for the medium, and that's why I love it. If you're a big fan of Metal Gear Solid as well, and you've got stories to share about it, or if you hate it and want to tell us that we're wrong, feel free to comment below. Also, BigDamnContact@gmail.com, BigDamnCast on Twitter. Listen to the podcast every Friday. See you then. Thanks for watching.
Hey! Shut up in there, will ya?